resulting in tumor or cancers. In Ayurveda, how do you see a quanta of life in Ayurveda? In Charakam Sharira, 7th chapter, Charaka explains this wonderful theory about Paramanu Siddhanta. See, what is a Paramanu? Sharira Avayavastu Paramanu Vedena Abarisankhya Bhavanti. Sharira is made up of numerous number of basic units called Paramanu. This is what Charaka enumerates. And what is the classification of Paramanu? Paramanu is Adi Bahutvada, Adi Saukshmyada, Adi Indriyatvacha. It is very small, it is innumerous in number, and it cannot be detected by the human senses. That is how Charaka defines a Paramanu. And essentially, two forces act on a Paramanu. One is the force of Samyoga, and other is the force of Vibhaga. Samyoga is joining together, and Vibhaga is splitting up. So basically, two forces act on a Paramanu. One is the force of Samyoga, and the other is the force of Vibhaga. As you know, in the modern, the oncogene helps in splitting up or division. Tumor suppressor gene helps in the joining together or keeping the cell in a stable state. Similarly, in Ayurveda Siddhanta, Paramanu splitting is caused by Vibhaga, and Paramanu joining is the Samyoga. So what happens during Paramanu Samyoga and what happens during Paramanu Vibhaga? Tesham Paramanunam Samyoge Shariram Arambhyate. When Paramanu are joined together, it results, or joining of Paramanu results in the formation of Sharira as such in a very healthy form. Whereas Tesham Paramanunam Samyoge Vibhage Vinasha Rubam Janet Yarthaha. Whenever there is Samyoga or Vibhaga of a Paramanu or splitting of a Paramanu, it results in the degradation of the body or destruction of the body. Basically, Paramanu Samyoga results in body formation or a healthy body structure, and Paramanu Vibhaga results in the destruction of the human body. This is how Charaka has stated Samyoga and Vibhaga of a Paramanu 3,000, 4,000 years back. It is very similar to the genetic structure of cancer that we learned today. You might be all surprised, right? And Charaka especially enumerates 3 factors which causes the Samyoga and Vibhaga of a Paramanu. Tesham Paramanunam Samyoge Vayu Karma Swabhavascha. 3 factors that affect the Samyoga and Vibhaga of a Paramanu are Vayu, Karma, and Swabhava. So what is Vayu? Vayu is energy. It is the initiating factor. Anything, any energy that initiates the Samyoga or Vibhaga of a Paramanu is considered as Vayu. And what is Karma? Karma, you know the famous Karma, no? Ihaloka Karma and Purva Janmakrita Karma. What is Ihaloka Karma? Ihaloka Karma is what we do daily in our daily life. Your habits, the food you eat, your thought, your stress, your sleep habits, your behavior towards others, your social interactions, your mental stress, your cortisol level. All these are a result of your Ihaloka Karma. And what is Purva Janmakrita Karma? I don't know how many of you believe in Purva Janma or past life. What I can say as a scientist or as what I can say as a doctor is I believe in a particular theory called genetic memory, which is consider that one of your forefathers, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 generations back, had a fall from a tree when he was like 17 years old. And after this fall, he had a terrific physical and mental trauma. What happens is your DNA or your genetic memory codes this. into your survival mechanism, so that in future generations are saved from this traumatic event. This can happen, and imagine your great-grandfather after the fall gets married and have children and has generations of children after that. And after a few generations, one of his great-granddaughters comes into a height, and she looks down and she suddenly generates extreme fear of heights, arachnophobia. Or you might have heard some 6-year-old or 5-year-old playing Sanskrit slogas without any prior Sanskrit studies. A Brahmin boy may be reciting Quran at 4 years old without learning Persian or Urdu. These are all expressions of these ancestral survival genetics, genetic memory that can be expressed during favorable or unfavorable conditions during future generations. In India, this is particularly seen because we have a caste system based on our occupation for centuries and centuries. Fathers and grandfathers and mothers and grandmothers have been doing the same job. So expression of genetic memory and behavioral memory is very, very common in Indian society. So this expression of genetic memory can be seen very, very clearly in the theoretic aspect of Purva Janmakruta Karma. And third is Swabhava. What is Swabhava? Swabhava Nishpradikriya. Swabhava is something that is you have acquired from your parents, Bija and Bija Bhaga, which is not which cannot be switched on and off. It is completely permanent to you. The Bija and Bija Bhaga of your parents has provided your Swabhava. Swabhava Nishpradikriya, it cannot be turned. So Vayu, Karma and Swabhava affect the Samyoga and Vibhaga of a Paramanu. So this is very, very clear in the very basis of Ayurveda. And you might be extremely, surprised to see the similarity of the two theories that is hand in hand going 4,000 years in between. Let me see, how is Arbuda formed? Sushruta defines Arbuda as Mamsa Upachayam tam Shobham tam Arbudam Shastra Vido Vadanti. It is a Mamsa Ruba like Shobha, or it's a mass which is formed inside anywhere in the body. Gatra Pradeshe Vajit Eva Doshe Mamsam Abhit Pradushya. It can be formed anywhere in the body. It is like a Pindaruba or Mamsaruba. It can be formed inside the body, outside the body, anywhere. And it is rounded. It is Vrittam Stiram Mandarujam Mahandam Analpa Moolam Chiravruddhi Abhakam. It is rounded, it is deep rooted, it is slow growing, etc. And its Susruta particularly defines Arbuda into 6 categories, out of which Rektaja Arbuda and Mamsada Arbuda is considered as Asatya, or which is considered life-threatening and difficult to treat. Especially Rektaja Arbuda. When Sushruta explains the Rektaja Arbuda, he actually defines a mass which is extremely vascular in structure, which grows very fast, which has a bleeding tendency, which has different veins and siras and dhamanis, voluptuous siras and dhamanis engulfing the Arbuda. This is considered as a Rektaja Arbuda. And all Rektaja Arbudas, you see, can be seen in areas which are Rekta Udbhava. So Sushruta in his organogenesis classifies organs according to how they are formed. For example, the lung, it is called Fuffusa, or Unduga, the rectum, or the Vasti, urinary bladder, or Vrikka, which is the kidneys. All are Rektaja Udbhava, which means they are formed with the high vasculature and formed as a direct byproduct of recta level of organogenesis. Any tumors that are formed in these areas, the Yekrit Pliha, which is the liver and spleen, these are all areas where tumors form, are extremely vascular in nature, have extremely high rate of metastasis, have extremely high rate of disease progression, as well as bad prognosis. These Rektaja Arbudas, especially formed, are asadhya according to Susruta, or they are very difficult to treat and easily causes distress or destruction of the human body and death. Susruta further classifies Arbuda according to the Sadhya Sadhya or prognosis. This is, imagine this is classified 4,000 years back. So he actually says this, like the Arbudas that are formed on the marma like the Guda or the intestinal tract, or in the vrika or renal area, or in head, shirasa. All these arbudas are asadhya. Any arbudas that causes obstruction to the flow of channels, veins, arteries, lymphatics, or even food are extremely asadhya. Even now, you know, any critical area arbuda causing damage to the flow of blood, lymphatics, or food, or urine are extremely dangerous and causes severe prognostic difficulties. And finally, he further classifies Arbuda into three: Adhyarbuda, Dwandarbuda, and Dvirarbuda. Adhyarbuda is Arbuda formed one over the other. One is formed and another is formed on top of it. That is Asadhya, very difficult to treat. Second is Dwandarbuda. Two Arbudas formed in the same space together. This is Asadhya. And third one is very, very interesting to me, which is Dvirarbuda. One Arbuda is formed one place, and as a sequel, another Arbuda is formed somewhere else in the body. And this Dvirarbuda, Dwandarbuda, and Adhyarbuda are extremely very close to the prognostic criteria we use today in modern oncology, especially Dvirarbuda. See, Susruta, when he says Dvirarbuda, is actually enumerating metastasis 4,000 years back. Dvirarbuda is a sequel Arbuda, one Arbuda formed in one area, and then it metastasizes as a sequel to another area. And it is considered one of the most difficult form and extremely asadhya and causes extreme prognostic difficulty for treatment. So let us see how the modern system sees this autoimmune system and these oncology systems. All of you might have heard about Cristiano Ronaldo, right? I love Cristiano Ronaldo. He's an extremely fit athlete, right? So Cristiano is like 38, 39 years old. So when he was having a club transfer from Juventus, they took his biological age. You know what a biological age and a chronological age is. Biological age is you check the DNA, you check the vitals, you check the blood for inflammatory markers, especially the DNA. It's called a DNA methylation. So you check how much about DNA damage or methylation one have by checking his DNA. And you will get, as the amount of damage in the DNA is increased, your biological age is also increased. And if the damage to your DNA is less, your biological age is less. So Cristiano Ronaldo was 38 years old, and they checked his biological age. This is using the Harvard clock developed by Steve Horvath in UCL in 2013. Now they have different versions, much higher versions of his clock, which are used today. Example, Novos and other clocks that are used today. I even use it today for my patients to get their biological age. So Cristiano, when checked at 38 years old, his biological age is 20 years. Just imagine a 40-year-old guy is 20 years old in his DNA, his tissues and his blood and his muscle tissues. Is there any surprise the way he's scoring goals and he's jumping and leaping? So they did another test on a common man. They did a common man test for 40, 45-year-olds. And what they came to realize is common 40, 45-year-old human being is having a biological age of 60. Just imagine when you are 40, 45 years of age, you are biologically 60, 65 years old, which means that by 40, 45, you are prone to get diseases of old age, like diabetes, thyroiditis, arthritis, PCODs, cancers. You are aging faster than you are supposed to age. This one reason, premature aging of your DNA, premature aging caused by extreme DNA damage, causing epigenetic chaos, is the primary reason for the development of any kind of autoimmune disease and cancers in the world today. So premature aging is caused by the epigenetic chaos that I have said. How is this epigenetic chaos coming into being? See, there was a couple of wonderful scientists. David Sinclair of Harvard University is the head of longevity and research in Harvard. And I have mailed him and I read his works, and he's one of the most peer-reviewed works in Google today. And also Dr. Walter Long, his study in East is a wonderful on-site to all the new research in Ayurveda as well as longevity studies that is ahead, as well as my favorite Elizabeth Blackburn, who won the Nobel Prize for her work in telomerase enzyme and the telomere length and how telomere length affects premature aging. I have been fortunate to work with one of her subjects or students in NICPR, National Institute of Cancer Prevention and Research in Noida. And we are going to do a paper on this cancer and phytochemicals. And I am extremely even glad to work with him. And we had a meeting at NICPR with the head, Miss Sushila Singh, and she was also very much interested in doing work in cancer research and Ayurveda oncology. So anyway, so this is how it works. They kept two petri dishes of yeast. One yeast was fed constantly with glucose every 2-3 hours. Other yeast was kept in fasting. So what they found out was that the yeast that was kept in fasting had 20% more lifespan than the yeast that was actually fed with food. Imagine our normal day. You have a morning tea with sugar in the morning. You have a breakfast. 11 o'clock, you have snacks and tea. 1 or 2 o'clock, you have lunch and lunch. At 4 o'clock, you have a tea and snacks. And at 8 o'clock, you have dinner again. So you are feeding continuously, causing continuous glucose spikes. These continuous glucose spikes, amount of sugar increase in the body continuously causes DNA damage. This process is called glycation. You might have heard glycation. Like you might have heard, anyway, those who are in medical profession might have heard about HbA1c. Like HbA1c, that is a test we do for diabetes. HbA1c, which is basically glycated hemoglobin. So if you take 100 hemoglobins, we take the measure of how many hemoglobins are glycated or having a combination of HB protein with sugar. So whenever glycation happens, the protein combines with the glucose and it causes inflammatory end products called glycation end products. Glycation end products causes extreme inflammation in the body. This glycation end products causes free radical reduction, increased cytokine release. As a result, increased number of dead cells or senescent cells or zombie cells in the body. Increased inflammation, increased amount of zombie cells in the body, increased glycation or sugar in the body. It's called a Maillard's reaction, a reaction between starch and protein. This happens everywhere in the body. Whenever you are taking starch or sugar or carbohydrates, especially simple carbohydrates like roti, chapati, naan, rice, butter naan, the dairy products, the red meats, all these causes glycation in products or increased amount of glucose in the body. This glucose reacts with your blood vessels, causing glycation in products or blocks in your arteries. When it reacts with your cartilages, it causes degeneration of cartilages called cartilages and bones called osteoporosis. And when these glycemic end products enter your brain and causes degeneration in the brain, you call it Alzheimer's or dementia. Alzheimer's is basically called type 3 diabetes because it is caused by glycation of your brain, causing inflammation of the glial cells, causing destruction of the neuronal pathways. So all these diseases, diabetes, thyroiditis, the Alzheimer's, cancers, all have a common pathology. All these common pathologies are related to the amount of DNA damage you have daily over your particular lifetime. What happens when your DNA gets damaged? As you all know, DNA is made up of 4 nucleotides, basically adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine, right? So when these nucleotides are formed into triplets forming each gene, we have 20,000 genes, different genes which goes on and off according to the needs. So when there is DNA damage happening, when you are eating your parathas, dal, when you are eating your parathas, paneers, pesticides, smoking, pollutants, alcohol, what happens is your DNA get damaged. So when this DNA damage happens, there are particular sets of genes called sirtuins. Sirtuins is called SIRT gene. SIRT gene was first found in yeast by my wonderful friend David Sinclair. David Sinclair found the SIRT gene in yeast, and in humans there are 7 sirtuins, 7 SIRT genes basically. And what they do is they have multiple functions, but one of their major function is whenever there is a DNA damage happening, the sirtuins, they go to these areas of DNA damage and they stitch it together or stitch the DNA damage together. But there is a policy that is happening. That is, when the sirtuins, which primary function of the sirtuin is to keep the on and off of your gene. So imagine this is an oncogene supported by or kept in place by your sirtuins. So you are having your parathas and you are having a liquor and tobacco, and you are causing continuous DNA damage. Sirtuins move out from your oncogene and go to the areas where your DNA is damaged, and they start repairing it. But when you are causing continuous DNA damage, the sirtuins cannot come back to their home. As a result, your oncogene start expressing because there is no off switch, which is controlled by the sirtuins. And continuous methylation also causes the same effect. So when your oncogene is gone unchecked, your cell starts to divide uncontrollably with this particular DNA damage. So when your cell starts dividing with this particular DNA damage and your oncogenes are switched on completely, it causes a cascade of reaction or mitosis, which results in the formation of tumors or cancers. Just imagine if in another scenario, instead of this oncogene, your diabetes gene is switched on. You might be, what do you say, predisposed to diabetes, but the environmental factors of your food, your pollutants, and your habits has caused enough DNA damage so that your sirtuins cannot switch off your diabetic gene. And from 1 or 2, 5, 6, or 10 years of DNA damage, your diabetic gene gets switched on. In a decade, your arthritic gene gets switched on, and you become a full-fledged, disease-oriented, autoimmune or cancer-related patient. This is what is happening. I first got this realization 5 years back when a patient came to me. She was a mom and a child. And the child was like 7 years old. And the mom came to me and said, "Doctor, my child is having menarche." I said, "What?" At 7 years old. And I was so surprised that a 7-year-old, 6-year-old kid is having menstrual bleeding. Similarly, you can see the women of around 40-45 are getting menopause. Usually menopause happened 55 to 60. In my grandmother's and their mother's time, usually women used to get menopause around 60. Now all women are getting menopause by 45, 48. What is happening? See, your ovaries are the most age-sensitive organs in the body. When you are feeding your body or child with Maggie and the stupid chocolates, pizzas and burgers and dairy and cheese and paneer, what happens is your child's ovaries are aging faster. As a result, women especially, because they have 2 X chromosome. Men have XY, women have 2 XX chromosome, which is actually, they have 2 X chromosomes are actually control your immune system. Immune system, that is why when you see the COVID death rate, the total mortality rate, men have died more of COVID than women, because females have a better X chromosome, they have a better immune system, and they can fight against infection better. But to every coin, there is another side. They have higher chance of autoimmune diseases. So that is why you are seeing in our Indian population higher rates of early menarche and higher rates of early menopause. So what are the factors that are causing us or our population to age faster than the previous generation? The major factors that affect sirtuin function is absolutely food. Number one factor that affects your DNA damage is food. After that comes the pollutants, the radiations, your stress, alcohol, etc. Why food? See, when you take the number 1 overall mortality in the world, how much do you think alcohol, drugs, and others are causing? See, the overall mortality from food is around 70 to 75%, and alcohol, drugs, and all other sources is around 15 to 20%. Food kills more people than any other drug ever will. This is plain and simple. See, number 1 killer is heart disease. Number 2 is cancer. And number 3, do you know number 3? There was a recent study done by the National Institute in USA. They did the study with the help of Harvard. So they had to recheck the study with Stanford because the data they found out was extremely problematic. So they finally published the Harvard study. So the number 3 cause of mortality in United States of America, number 1 is cardiac disease, number 2 is cancer, and number 3 is prescription medicine. The medicine you prescribe, allopaths, any modern medicine, bad prescription is the number 3rd cause of death in the United States of America. Just imagine the amount of deaths food and problematic description is causing in a developed country and highly populous country like India. You cannot count the numbers. It's going to be millions and millions in the next 5 years. We need to get serious research work and serious thought about how we are governing our food system and our medical system. We had a meeting with the higher officials of the government in the NICPR. NICPR is basically National Cancer Prevention Institute. They are responsible. It is a branch of ICMR, which is the highest research body in modern medicine and research in India. So NICPR is cancer tail of ICMR, and they are responsible for all the tobacco ads, the alcohol ads, banning of tobacco ads, everything. You might have seen Rahul Dravid's ad. It is done by NICPR. So we had a meeting there about this. And what is happening is we are spending the major amount of government money for advocating against tobacco and drugs, which causes 15% of deaths. And all the fast food industry, the biscuits, pizzas, burgers are running ads even in small kids channels everywhere, and causing up to 80% of deaths every day. And we are not even budgeted friendly in any areas of food or fast food. And what kinds of food are extremely dangerous in causing difficulties in the body? Number one, carbs and starch. In carbs and starch, number one is gluten. Why gluten? See, you might have heard, as an Ayurveda doctor, why is this guy saying gluten? Gluten is wheat, is a protein, gliadin protein contained in wheat, maida, and different kinds of, grains. Older variety of Indian wheat, which is like the triticale, etc., the gluten content was less than 1%. Whereas the new variety of wheat after Green Revolution, called the Sonalika variety or the American dwarf variety, has gluten content ranging from 12 to 15. The gluten that is seen, gluten protein, is not digested by the human gut. So what happens essentially is, when you eat a roti or chapati, which made from Indian Sonalika wheat, which is 12% in gluten, containing the weedicide or pesticide called glyphosate, which is sprayed all over India. When you see the cancer belt is between Punjab, Haryana area. Punjab, Haryana area has the number one cancer occurrence rate in India. Next comes Kerala. In both these areas, especially in the Punjab, Haryana area, they spray glyphosate over. That is where all the wheat comes from in India. They use glyphosate as the major weedicide. And this is the area where the most amount of farmers and most amount of people are getting cancers. And when we check blood of this local population, it was 10x that amount of pesticides that are seen in the population, which is mind-boggling. So, gluten-containing foods, which is wheat, maida, refined flour, etc. Second is dairy. Dairy contains, especially modern dairy. There was a study done by the central government in 2018 where they randomly checked commercial dairy products. And the natural amount of antibiotics, or the maximum amount of antibiotics that should be present in dairy, is less than 10 parts per million. So major or all sources of commercial dairy, especially in Milma, which is a major dairy in Kerala, it had more than 50 to 60 parts per million of antibiotics. How is this much antibiotics getting into our commercial milk? See, commercial milk, in commercial farming, the cow gets a constant disease called mastitis, which is the infection of the mastis. And what they do in commercial farming is they cannot stop milking the cow. It's a huge commercial loss. So what they do is they continuous influx of antibiotics, and they continuously farm the cows. And this antibiotics get accumulated in the cholesterol of milk most. And this is packaged and coming to our homes daily. And we are taking lethal amounts of antibiotics daily in our paneer, in our tea. I know people who drink 6 to 7 cups of milk tea daily. Not only that, it's been long proven that lactose as well as casein protein. Casein protein is a #1 irritant of the gut, like gluten. Both are not digested by the human gut. What happens when casein and gluten enters into your gut is your gut flora, the intestinal villi opens up to absorb the nutrients. There is a particular enzyme called serum zonulin. Serum zonulin was first discovered during a cholera attack. So what serum zonulin does is, it opens up or it controls the opening and closing of intestinal villi. So when the intestinal villi is, when you eat a chapati, 12% of the chapati, you cut 12%, a small tail. That tail is undigestible gluten or gliadin protein, which basically acts as a foreign body in your gut, like a nail or a sand or a grass or anything. So it irritates the gut, it causes gut flora, gut biome dysbiosis. Not only that, it increases the amount of serum zonulin, causes permanent opening of the intestinal villi, which causes seepage of these gliadin protein waste, casein protein waste, and intestinal bacterial toxins into your blood. This blood going out, coming up, and into the system creates a continuous autoimmune reaction in the body. This autoimmune reaction, as a result of this autoimmune reaction, body brings in a cytokine storm or a defense mechanism to help the body fight these toxins. This chronic condition, when you're doing this daily for like years and years, eventually the amount of DNA damage causes the sirtuins out of their oncogene spaces or their diabetes spaces, causing you to age faster. As a result, your unwanted genes are expressed. You start develop cancers of the gut, cancers of different breast or intestine or colon or lungs or leukemia, etc. Or you may develop autoimmune diseases like diabetes, thyroiditis, etc. See, very short fact that you can see is the average age of a smoker to develop lung cancer is 65 years of age, And do you know the average age of colon cancer? Colon cancer is directly linked to bad food. Breast cancer is also directly linked to bad food and obesity. The average or mean age of colon cancer is 48. And the mean age of lung cancer or smokers' lung cancer is 65. Food causes cancer 17 years faster than smoking. So we have been diverting fund to things that are unnecessary or causing much lesser damage to humans than the actual amount of damage that Maggie, Pizza Hut, Britannia, Nutella, all are causing to our children. The amount of fast food the children eat today, the milk products they take in today, the candies and chocolates and dairy milks they take in today, especially after COVID. I'm not talking about the effect of COVID vaccine and autoimmune reaction in the body. That will be more controversial. I'll take it another time. Anyway, and the third one is red meat. And the fourth one is, about red meat. I'm not going to, take a class on red meat. It's so obvious. There are proteins called New5G and other bacterial toxins in red meat that will further cause difficulty to your gut and cause the same reaction that I have talked about. And fourth one you have to be careful about is refined oil. So what is refined oil? Refined oil is any oil that is commercially pressed and undergoing the process of bleaching. So the refined palm oil, refined sunflower oil, refined rice bran oil, any kind of refined oil, when it undergoes the process of refining, what happens is the oil that is taken into, is first commercially pressed. When commercial pressing happens, oil is heated more than 100, 200 degrees Celsius. And because of this overheating, this happens. What happens is the carcinogens are formed in these. Chemicals are formed, and bleaching process again causes once more carcinogenics in these areas. So, and along with sugar, sugar also causes the same thing, you know, like gluten and carbs and other things I have mentioned. Now, how does Ayurveda classify this? See, when Ayurveda talks about Nidana of Vadarakta or Prameha, Vakvada mentions Navadanya, Surya, Anupa Mamsa, Ikshu, Guda Gorasa, Egasthana Naradi, Sayanam, Vidhivarjidam, Navadanya, eating of processed or new grains, unprocessed grains, Surya, alcohols, Navadanya, Surya, Anupa Mamsa, red meat, Ikshu, Guda Gorasam, the glucose containing or Ikshu, the byproducts of the, our sugar cane. Gorasam. Gorasam is milk and milk products. Egasthana Sanaradi, lack of exercise. Chayanam Vidhivarjidam, lack of sleep. All these together over time causes your body into Dosha Dusha Dushti or Kaba Dushti or Medo Dushti, causing Kleda. Kleda is I don't know if all of you are from Ayurveda, but I think the audience is mixed. That is why I am filtering out the slogas from Ayurveda. If you want, I can enumerate it deeply. But I think it will be difficult for other guys from other than
Dr.
Ayurveda.
Rajagopal. Hello, Dr. Rajagopal.
Yeah.
I would like to, if you could explain for the Indian doctors, the take-home messages, the practical points in the current scenario, how to keep their families and the patients healthy with the available limited resources. So how would you go about with it?
Okay, sure. So that's a very good question. I'll come to it. So when you are treating patients, or when you are treating especially cancer patients or autoimmune patients, the main thing that should be taken into care is, first, I said, the habits, the diet. That is most important. The amount of starch you take. The basic, when we see the basic treatment protocols of Ayurveda classifies treatment into two: Swasthasya Urjasagaram as well as Roga Pradibodhagaram. One is Ayurveda, by definition, is Ayuska Ved. It is the science of life. The primary lakshya of Ayurveda is to make an individual live 200 years. So how can you make a patient or a healthy individual live for 100 years? That is what the basis of Ayurveda treatment is. So when you look into the 3 or 4 basic kind of treatments that Ayurveda prescribes, one is Langhana, 2 is Snehapana, 3 is Svedana, 4 is Vidyachana or any kind of excavation therapy. So one is Langhana. Langhana is basically fasting or upavasa. So the basic first line of treatment for Ayurveda is Langhana. Langhana is fasting. You know, nothing improves the activity of sirtuins than fasting. So what happens during fast? Every religion had fast. Hindus had fast, Muslims have fast, Christians have fast, until the 20th century when everyone started eating every time. So what happens during a 16-hour fast or a 20-hour fast or a 24-hour fast is your cellular structure starts cleaning itself because it doesn't have glucose. So it goes into a mode called a survival mode. It starts cleaning itself. It starts cleaning its...
Yes, sir. Fasting. Okay, we get it. Fasting, sir. Apart from fasting, how to prolong a fasting, how to not land up into starvation, if you can add something to that during fasting.
Yeah,
It is because it is proven, like during fasting, the Agni in the form of genes open, especially they start after 72 hours to open up, and they open up more after 5 days. So a normal individual, like suppose in India, almost all the cities are polluted, and the quality of land has gone down. So the practical point, what I see for a human being who has a flat or a home and no land, is keep the mud in the flat. Keep the mud means the Agni in the form of plants that grow from the mud. Keep the plants, different edible plants, or for their day-to-day healthy life, because almost everything is uh, contaminated for the sake of productivity. Uh, uh, so for the small family, suppose, who is living in a flat. So if you could shed any light on how to prolong fasting
yeah,
without
sure.
starvation.
We can do a couple of things. One is like you said, if you want the total, what you say, effect of fasting, you need at least 72 hours of fasting so that the stem cells can rejuvenate and clean up. Autophagy is done properly, stem cells are rejuvenated, as well as your body can cleanse itself. That is why Ayurveda mentions 7-day water fast. What we can do practically is, on a daily basis, if you want, you can do intermittent fast, or if you want to do prolonged fast, like 5-day or 6-day or 7-day fast, it is called a fasting mimicking diet. I hope you have heard about FMN. It is done by Dr. Walter Longo of UCL. He has done wonderful studies on how to
So
do.
anything that our rishis tell in a simple way, in a coding language, you can speak. Then we can give references of the recent scientists later on in a
Yeah, sure, sure.
practical way.
Practically, I'll say you. See, when you are doing a fasting mimicking diet, see, like in Sneha, like I said, Lankana is fasting in Ayurveda. The second point I said is Snehabana, right? Which is induced ketosis. See, when you are combining fasting with the addition of good quality fats like coconut oil, olive oil, or ghee, what happens is you are switching from a fasting mode to a ketosis mode. Normally, your cells are in a mode where they are ready to take in glucose. But when you are in fast and you are putting in oils and fats which contain phytochemicals, like in Ayurveda, drugs like Kalyana Grida or Tikta Grida or any Ayurveda Grida formulation or oil formulation we take, what we are actually doing is we are switching from a fasting state primarily to a ketosis state. So what happens during ketosis is your mitochondria becomes much more smoother, because ketones are very efficient fuels, unlike glucose, and they do not produce any byproducts. So what we do in fasting mimicking diet is, consider if you are taking, or an average individual is taking 2000 calories. What we do in a fasting mimicking diet is we reduce the calories to around 6,000 to 800 calories by adding high quality fats and very little amount of starch. And we use high end or good organic vegetables, vegetable soups, organic teas, and other kashayas or fandas which contain phytochemicals using Ayurvedic herbs. Along with this, we add good quality fats like coconut oil, olive oil, or ghee, if people can tolerate. So that instead of taking 2,000 calories, we take only around 500 to 600 or 800 calories according to the body weight of the patient, and we take only this 600 calories, which is predominantly rich in high quality fat. And by the 5th or 6th day, the patient or the person enters into ketosis. How do you know the person has enters into ketosis? You can test his blood ketone level. First, you check the blood ketone level before starting the fast, and then you do a fasting mimicking diet for 5-6 days. Then you check the blood ketone level of the patient. Then you will see when the ketones are rising, you will see that the body has entered into ketosis. And once the body has entered into ketosis, you hold the patient for 5th and 6th day. And then again, after the 6th or 7th day, you restart with very simple carbs so that we get a slow switch from the ketone metabolism to the glucose metabolism. What we do is, during this slow switch, it's in Ayurveda, it's called a Payadikrama or Samsarjana Kriya. We give medicated herbs along with these Paya or Guruval, as well as we give medicated ghee or oil along with this food, and we start Rasayana. Rasayana are a combination of drugs which are primarily used to restart or reboot stem cell formation in patients after doing fasting.
So your voice is muted. So basically, after as we know that we have specialized lipid channels in the body, unlike the protein and carbs channels, and the once we have seen the Grit Lakshana. So I am not.
This is a child which two months old, and his father's name is Dr. Ryan Shea. He was a modern dental surgeon, and his child was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, M5, monoblastic leukemia. And since he is only 2 months old, we couldn't do any chemotherapy or anything because child wouldn't survive it. And at the time, the blast cells in his blood was around 95%, which is like 100% is full blast. And his peripheral count and flow cytometry showed 95% is blast. He's in extreme blast crisis. He had huge myeloid leukemia lumps all over the body, reddish discoloration, gum bleeding. That is the condition the baby was brought. And we said it's impossible to say anything. We cannot do anything. Maybe the baby will survive for like 1 week, 2 weeks, we don't know. But he said he had no other option. He couldn't do chemotherapy. Sir, you do whatever you want. So we took up the case, and what we did is we gave started with Ayurvedic medication like Mahadikta. I use A2 ghee from naturally fed cow, and I use organic coconut milk, and I used organic plants for making my medicine. Otherwise, you won't get any result in oncology by Ayurveda. It's irrelevant. So I started with drugs like Mahadikta Grida and basmas like Abraga Basma and Swarna Makshika Basma and Amalaki Prasha, which was made from Indian gooseberry. And it was not made from what you say, Gouda. See, the commercial Gouda that we get today, commercial Gouda is not the actual Gouda that is said in Ayurveda. Actual Gouda in Ayurveda is the concentrated form of sugarcane juice. But the commercial Gouda
Dr. Rajagopal, you are muted. Could you please unmute yourself?
Hello, Dr. Rajagopal, you are muted. Hello.
Every rasayana that is sold in the market today contains commercial Gouda, which is full of this lye. So when you are taking a Chanaprach, which is rich in an alkali lye, what do you expect? You don't expect to that your life will go up. Obviously, your life will come down because it's complete alkali, it's complete Shara. So what I do is I take proper Gouda without adding the slaked lye, and I make it to the prasha, Amaliki prasha that is said in Charaga. We gave only ghee, Amaliki ghee, the basma, Swarnamakshika Abraga basma, as well as some draksha adi fanda as medicine and Amaliki as food for the baby. And in 2 weeks, I thought he will not survive 2 weeks. But in 2 weeks, what happened is his blast count from 95% reduced to 50%. Everyone was surprised. Everyone was surprised. Even I was surprised.
So,
In
sir,
what-
how you managed? How did you manage? Like you had given, you had put the child 5 kg around 2 months means around 5 kg is not more than that.
Yeah.
Child. So, what was the, like you had given Mahatikta Grita as the soul food, like Mahatikta Grita as the soul food. You had kept the child on ketosis, Mahatikta Grita, because usually in ICU what we see is the children tend to go to hypoglycemia.
Yeah, that is why I gave it combination with Amalaki Prasa. Amalaki Prasa is basically Rasayana with Guda as a sugar.
Okay.
Did you get me?
So yes,
We cannot keep a 2-month-old baby in ketosis for long. We just restricted as what do you say, a 2-month-old baby. He was not taking anything because he didn't have any appetite. So we started with Mahatikta Grida, but after 2 weeks he was not taking in Grida. So we formulated the Kalyana Grida formulation into coconut oil, and we started giving him droplets of coconut oil along with Amalaki Prasha and the Basmas. So after 1 month, the blast count reduced from 50 to 20%, and all his physical symptoms reduced. And after 2 months, his blast count was less than 5. And in 6 months, the child was in complete remission. This was absolutely ballistic for me, ballistic for everyone involved, because everyone knows there is no, what is the effect of all?
And 2 months old child means it was some inherited cancer, some mutations that
and
had
no
happened either
for,
in the
what do you say?
womb.
What do you say? What is the word for? Anyway, I forgot the word. No problems. Yeah. So anyway, after 6 months, he was in remission. But even I thought, like, after remission, 1.5 years, here the cancer will come up and we'll have to go through the whole phase again. But that kid is 10-year-old now. He's 10 years old, completely free from acute myeloid leukemia M5, completely clear from any kinds of blood abnormalities. Not only this, we did another on an adult too. He was having a myelodysplastic syndrome, and he had he was doing 6 to 7 blood transfusions per month. He was diagnosed in Tata Memorial Hospital, then in Vellore. So they couldn't do anything about it. And his name is Manas Sakia from Gujarat, from Assam. And after 6 to 7 months of treatment, he never had any blood transfusion ever after. These are just few cases I'm mentioning. So what we can do is, in an Ayurveda perspective, I'm not saying we can cure every cancer. We cannot cure every cancer. That is impossible. But what we can do is, we can prevent 90 to 95% of cancers and autoimmune diseases in the whole world. Not only that, there is a huge amount of Indian population where they are chemotherapy resistant or refractory stages of cancer, or due to age restrictions, like this baby, who are in old age, very old age, or very poor age, or who are having other comorbidities, who cannot be treated with conventional chemotherapy. These account for millions of the population. If we can come up with a body, or if we can come up with a source where we can provide and serve these millions of population, we can actually extend their life by months or years. I'm not telling complete remission or complete cure, but we can absolutely improve their life by maybe years, definitely by years. This is so the data is so compelling, and the scientific truths, like I said, the David Sinclair study, the water study, the telomerase studies, all these came only 4-5 years back. 5 years back, even I, or the best of the best in Ayurveda, couldn't explain how Lankana or fasting was curing diseases, how Snehapana or ketosis was curing diseases, how Swedana or heat therapy was curing diseases. But now we know that Snehapana, ketosis, Lankana, fasting, heat therapy, and phytochemicals. Phytochemicals are extremely potent in switching on the sirtuin pathway as well as switching off mTOR pathway, AMPK pathway, and regulating insulin pathways. I would love to talk lots on Ayurveda, but I think our time is up. We only had 50 minutes. 50 minutes is like a warm up for me. So I had to concise it so much. Hope we get some more time if you want with your different forums and different research institutions and individuals involved today. If you want me there, I can actually come and help you guys out. So sure, hope we together can help all the needy and all the people and our families. Like I said, I lost my dad when I was 12. I don't want other people to lose their family ones, to lose their children because of not sharing the knowledge we already have. So please, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Also, for all the Vedas, that's what, as per the experience of the sir and the other people also whom I have met, I would emphasize again on giving Deepan, Pachan, and Snehan in the less time period. Like add a Deepan, Pachan, Dravyas together along with Snehan. Don't wait for the Deepan, Pachan to complete, especially in blood malignancies when we don't have time for that. So that point has to be emphasized on.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. Because in blood malignancies as well as any cancer, Agni is the number one thing. I always say, which is the most best. People ask me, sir, what is the number one prodromal symptom of cancer? I would say Gulma Purvaruba, Udgara Bahulya, Purisha Bandha, Tripti Akshamatva, Andhra Vigujanani, Adobam Atmanam, Abakti Shaktim, Asanna Gulmasya, Vadanti Chinnam. You get me?
Sir, you can explain it
Yeah, I'll explain it to you. So, Udgara Bahulya is increased gastritis. Okay. Belching, bloating, Udgara Bahulya, Purisha Bandha is constipation. Udgara Bahulya, Purisha Bandha. Tripti Akshamatva is aversion to food. Tripti Akshamatva, Andhra Vigujanani, increased bloating or belching of the gastric area. Adobam Atmanam, Adobam and Atmanam is the same. And Abakti Shaktim, that is improper digestion of food. So when you are having all these symptoms or these particular symptoms, these are prodromal symptoms that you are going to get an abdominal mass. Asanna Gulmasya Vadanti Chinnam. In the future, in 5 or 6 years, you might develop an abdominal mass, which might be cancerous or which might not be cancerous. But what happens is most of the patients nowadays are on unprescribed pantoprazole. They mask all these symptoms. They mask the bloating, they mask the belching, they mask the constipation, they mask the improper digestion. And most of the patients or the doctors do not see these prodromal symptoms. As a result, once you take the UST after 5 or 6 years, suddenly you will see a mass. Suddenly you see a problematic liver. Suddenly you see a problematic intestine. And these maskings are caused by unprescribed medications as well as layman taking drugs without prescription, as well as some doctors are very ignorant about these facts.
Sir, and one more thing, how is your experience with the Asa Varishta in Deepan Pachan, their Agni Tat in oncology?
Asavarishta in Deepanapajana, as Asavarishta as such, I don't use for cancer patients basically. For Deepan Pajan, you can use Panchagola, you can use Ashtachurna, you can use Churnas or Bhasmas or other Kalpanas, Arka Kalpana, etc. Asava and Arishta, one, I don't like it because commercial Asava Arishta is made from commercial Guda, which is alcohol plus alkali. I don't use it at all. And I don't use alcohol preparations for cancer and inflammatory autoimmune conditions.
Sir, I asked this question because the science of it is going away. Like now we are depending on commercial asavarishtas, but actually if people are, the doctors are, Vedas are taught to make asavarishtas, it has a huge potential. Like they are kind of probiotics. They are much better than red wine in all the ways.
Excuse me, sir.
Absolutely. Yeah, please.
Sir, as we have Dr. Avinash next, could you please quickly brief on one or two cases which you've personally treated as per your experience? We'd all like to hear.
Which one is it?
Any of the cancer cases which you've successfully treated, we'd like to hear more about that. If you could quickly brief one or two cases regarding that.
Okay, I'll just brief the myelodysplastic syndrome, like I said. Okay, so his name is Manav Sakia. He was having like 6-7 blood transfusions on a bi-weekly basis. So he came to me. He had no other option. He didn't have any money, and they said bone marrow transfusion was only his option, and that too had a 10% chance because he was having so many difficulties with his health. And his blast cell count was less than 5%, but his platelet count was around 10,000, and his HB was around 5, and his what do you say? MCV RBC count is also very low. So this was the time when he came to me. He was having so many blood transfusions as well. So he said he want to live. He cannot do bone marrow transfusion. So we started him on a proper organic diet. Proper organic diet like no gluten, no dairy products, no red meat. Predominantly with coconut oil, olive oil. I use coconut oil better with medications like Kalyana Grida or Mahatikta Grida. I use the Grida combination for coconut oil because many patients, especially cancer patients, they do not have enough Agni to digest Grida. Or sometimes the Grida itself causes Bandagni or difficulty in Dhatu Agni progression. Whereas coconut oil is much more tolerated in patients with Agni Mandya problems. He was having severe loss of acne. We started with Kalyana Grida. Then we used a particular rasana called Gandhira Rasayana. Gandhira Rasayana is a formulation in Sahasra Yoga, which is a text used in Kerala. Gandhira Rasayana is there's a particular indication for Arbuda as well as Yekrit Arbuda, and as you all know, and as well as it is directly indicated in Pandu also. In the any hematopoietic related or myelodysplastic or any disease that is related to the blood or myelo or your bone marrow is directly in correlation to the disease called Pandu. Okay, Pandutvam. Pandutvam is caused by Alparektada. Alparektada is caused by deranged stem cell formation or hemopoiesis in the bone marrow. That is why when you give or get the patient into a bit of ketosis and give Deepanapajana drugs along with Kalyana Grida or the Bhasmas or Gandhira Rasayana that I gave, after I think around 3 weeks, his platelet level started from increasing from 10,000 to 25,000. His HB increased from 5 to 7.5 in like 3 weeks. So we thought, okay, good, fine. It's a slight increase, but it's nothing to be, ecstatic about. But he was very religious in doing what we said. He was very religious in the diet we prescribed. I actually prescribed individualized diet. Now, in the present, that time there was no microbiome study or DNA methylation study is available. Now I do microbiome study if the patient has financially viable, so that we get a proper system of his microbiome, which is deficient, which is more, if he is having any other difficulties. If the patient has enough financially sound, we can also do a DNA methylation test also, so that we get a precise condition of his system. But at that time, he was not having that amount of money, so we didn't do all this. And we started with Kalyana Grida first, but he couldn't tolerate the Grida after some time, so we switched to Kalyanaga coconut kera or Kalyanaga coconut oil, Gandira Rasayana, Swarnamakshika Basma and Loha Basma. Loha Basma in very small amount, as well as Abraga Basma was started. Abraga is also very good in bleeding disorders. And we, after 3 weeks, his condition improved. After 1 month, it improved drastically. And after 2 months, his HP was around 10.5. Platelet count around 60, 70. He continued medication for 3 years. After that, all his blood reports were absolutely normal. After that, all his medications were stopped. Now it's his 8th year, and all these 8 years, there has been no transfusions done, and all his hematological parameters has been normal. All the flow cytometry has been normal. And it has been like he has got married, he has children now. So these are all very, very, happy cases. Even the child that I said, Ryan had M5 leukemia. My father had M5 leukemia, and he died in like 1 year. And the child I treated is like 10 years old, which is like mind-blowing. These are like exceptional cases. We cannot do this kind of result or expect this kind of result in every case. These are
MDS patient. Sir, MDS patient, what was the cost of treatment, especially in the initially 1 month or 2 months?
Initially, since I said the patient was economically difficult, so we gave him a proper organic diet, which is more towards the healthy fat side. And we gave him Gandhira Rasayana, along with the Kalyana Grida initially, but initially Grida was changed to Kalyanaga Kera or coconut oil. Then we gave Abraga Basma, Loha Basma, and Swarnabakshi Basma, which is 50 mg, 50 mg, 50 mg initially. Then it was increased to 150 mg, 150 mg. And he tolerated all that. And that was the initial. All this was done in his home. It was not. He was not an IP patient. Yeah, it was all therapy was done at home. And after his blood results were getting better and better, he came to visit me once in 2 or 3 months, and we did a blood check, and we did a routine body check. We did a flow cytometry, and everything was getting normal. And we continued the medication. We stopped the Basma after 1 year. We continued with the Rasayana, Gandhira Rasayana, and Amaliki Prasha after 1 year until 4 years, until 3 years. After 3 years, all medications were stopped.
Great, sir. So the cost
Thank you,
in
sir.
the initial 1 month would be less than 10,000, 12,000?
Yeah, less than 10,000, absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you,
that's
sir.
very great to hear.
Thank
We
you.
now have Dr. Avinash Kadam for the next session.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Dr. Avinash Kadam here.
Sir, I can,
yes.
if I may please introduce you a little to
Yeah,
our
that will be great.
listeners.
Fine. Please.
Dr. Avinash Kadam is clinical research scientist from Rasayu Cancer Clinic and Rasayani Biologics Oncology researcher. He has over 15 years of experience in conducting scientific research studies in Ayurveda, yoga, and naturopathy. He is actively involved in designing and conducting clinical studies on new chemical entities and drug development through reverse pharmacology. The research and development of innovative cancer treatment through Ayurveda is his major acknowledged work. Sir, I now request you to take over the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to congratulate Dr. Rajagopal. Nice presentation. Mainly the way he took the entire audience to a very scientific approach, right from the oncogenes and micro cancer and all. It was very good. After that, what next he point out towards the aging principle. The aging principle here is very important. You can see lot of research happening here, that the premature aging, what is happening, the early aging which is happening, the DNA damage. This is the one of the thing which certainly leads to cancer. And that's why at Rasai Cancer Clinic, what we are practicing, the main line of treatment is through Rasayana only. Rasayana treatment, which is anti-aging, helps in that. I will put light to it further. And after that, he pointed about the inflammation. Very important is inflammation, that how we are going to tackle the inflammation, because there are various studies available now which says that hyperinsulinemia is one of the main cause of various malignancies nowadays, because of the sedentary lifestyle, overeating, and all the prameha nidanas which are mentioned. There is a, we can call as epidemic of hyperinsulinemia, which leads to various micro-level inflammation, and very chronic micro-level inflammation can lead to various kind of autoimmune diseases, degenerative diseases, and also cancer, Alzheimer's, and all such kind of diseases. So this is also one of the important area where we need to highlight. Correctly, he pointed out towards the fasting phenomena or the Langana Chikitsa, which is very much important. Here I would like to say that besides considering Langana as just fasting, the all kind of Langana mentioned in Ayurveda also need to be considered. So next, I would like to share our experience with what Dr. Rajagopal has already highlighted. First of all, regarding the micro cancer which he has shared. Yeah, I have came through one paper in which the Italian scientist has done one survey about the people who have undergone preventive mammography to find out that how many of them have a micro level of tumor, and they were subjected to what you call elective surgery. No symptoms were there, just they were elected to surgery. And there was another group similarly which has not undergone any kind of such investigations, and later when they have found out, they came to know that many of the time such kind of tumors are undergoing spontaneous regression, and we are actually not giving the time to the body to heal itself. No way here I am trying to say that we should not go for preventive checkups. No, that is not the thing. What I'm trying to highlight here is that the body has a natural mechanism to heal itself, and even it is possible to heal cancer. Many of us, like what Dr. Rajagopal has clearly said, many of us might be having a circulating tumor cells in our blood. But okay, body takes care of that. How does it take care of that? Because there is a mechanism in it. And exactly this mechanism we need to potentiate, to boost this mechanism to overcome the disease as well. This mechanism can certainly be utilized to treat the cancer as well, which we are doing, and I will share our experiences with you as well. After that, what he told about was biological age. Yeah, certainly biological age is a very important factor. And many studies you can find out that Rasayana, its effect on telomerase length. And there is a very good publication about Amalaki Rasayana. If Rasayana can certainly bring down the aging process and reverse the aging process, then certainly we can say that Rasayan therapy can be very well applied towards prevention of cancer, secondary prevention of cancer, and also in treatment of cancer as well. Yeah. So now I would like to share some of my experiences about Langana, like what doctor has already told, and about ketosis, what he have mentioned beautifully. See, I personally feel that body of a person who has diagnosed cancer gives a natural aversion to food. It takes the person towards langhana only, because body has a mechanism like what is good for it, what is not good for it. It makes the patient crave for all these things. Suppose if you are tired and if you are very much stressed, sometimes you feel craving for madhura rasa. At the same time, when body is diseased and it wants to fight back the disease, it wants to utilize all the energy towards kicking out the disease of the body. And this, that time body generally creates aversion for food. But while treating a cancer patient, we should be very much careful, because especially the cancer patients which are coming to Ayurveda are usually a very advanced stage cancer patient. In this stage, we have to find out whether it is a general loss of appetite, a mild degree of anorexia, or the patient has landed into a severe anorexia cachexia syndrome. Because many a times it is well documented, many studies exist that many of the cancer patients are not dying by cancer itself, rather they are dying by malnutrition. How that happens? Because patients' agni becomes very low. They are not able to eat anything. The inflammation in their body goes very high. The microinflammation goes very high. And because of that, there is a very drastic weight loss. The performance status of the person comes down. The person becomes completely bedridden, and the person is not able to do its ADLs, what we call as activities of daily living. And slowly, the person dies. So here the importance of Agni comes. We should have a very delicate balance. We should maintain a very delicate balance between the Agni, the Langhana, and the nutritional status of the patient. The Lagu Ahara should be started, and we should always try to find out what is the nutritional status of the patient, what is the performance status of the patient. Performance status means what kind of work, activities of daily living he is able to do. Is the patient able to walk? Is the patient able to take his bath daily? Okay, if the patient is not able to do any kind of things, many kind of activities of daily living, that means the prognosis is certainly going to be very poor, because already a severe kind of malnutrition has already happened in this patient. To such patient, we generally start with a very lagu kind of ahara, like mudgayusha and some bland khichdi along with gruta, little bit of that. And in medicines, generally we are using rasaushadis. So Arogyavardhini and Somnathi Tamra Bhasma, these are the two formulations which we have found very useful in treating the Agni of cancer patient when the Agni is very low. So we generally prefer to go for Shataputi Somnathi Tamra Bhasma. This formulation has shown wonderful results in gradually improving the Agni of the patient. Now you may say that, oh, why Agni is so much important? Because we already know that the Chikitsa of Agni is only called as Kaya Chikitsa. It's a very important thing. And once Agni has vanished, it is not possible for us to save the patient. So always, whenever you are treating a cancer patient, make sure you protect the Agni of the patient. If you are giving Langhana to this patient, make sure you are maintaining a vital balance between it. Because when Agni is very low, again, you are not giving any kind of food. It may hamper the nutritional status of the patient. When Agni is very poor, the nutritional status is very bad, and you are dumping the patients with Guru Ahara, again, it is going to harm the Agni. So very important delicate balance we have to maintain over here. And just I would like to quote one example over here, which generally I quotes in all of my talk, because this was a heart-touching example of a patient who came to our OPD. We had one patient, he was a poor patient, an illiterate patient, a tailor in a village. He came with his mother. The mother was severe cachexic, and that mother was not able to walk also. So just like a small child, he brought her lifting in his hands, and just made her sit in the OPD. And when we saw her reports, we found that she had a very advanced stage of hepatocellular carcinoma. And because of that, the patient was having very severe anorexia. Okay, in front of the patient, we told, okay, we will do best for you, and you can just take rest outside and do some of the investigation. And we called her son. And we told that, see, the condition is very advanced. probably the prognosis will not be good. Believe me, even though the person was an illiterate person, but he was very sensible. We don't see in a very literate people also. Literate people always try to think of, no, somehow we will find out a cure for this person, somehow we will cure. But no, he was very sensible. He told, no, doctor, I have visited many cancer hospitals, many oncologists. Everybody told me that the survival is very poor, prognosis is not good, and I am aware of that. I don't expect anything from you. I know it's a very advanced stage of hepatocellular carcinoma. I just want you to make my mother eat. Why it is so important for her to eat? When we asked that, he told that no, we have a joint family and nobody is in our family is able to have food. Because my mother is not having food since days together, and I'm not feeling anything to cook, whatever is cooked at home to have. And since me and my brothers are not having, our wives and children are also not having food properly. We don't feel that one person in our house is not eating, and in front of her we should continue eating properly. Somehow it is not, I'm not getting convinced with it. So it was heart touching. We understand from the patient's words that what is the importance of a little bit, okay, simple symptom management over here. Which, as we were knowing that there is no place for a curative protocol over here. We just started with the palliative protocol with the main intention of treating the Agni and reducing the anorexia here. Started with Arogyavardhini, and we had one Rasayana capsule which contains basically Somnathi Tamra Bhasma and Hirak Bhasma combination, which we call as Dasma Rasayan. So these two combinations we gave to that patient, and the patient came after 15 days. Okay, a little bit improvement is there. She is little bit she has started eating. Again, the patient son came after 1 more month. That means I can say about 1.5 months after starting the treatment. He told, my mother passed away, but I just came to thank you because we were able to feed her whatever she wanted. This is the very important. He was very thankful to us. He was not expecting that his mother will survive, but his only intention was this: her Agni should improve, her anorexia should go. This kind of small symptoms are there. This management of these symptoms is very important when you are actually handling a cancer patient. Always don't think that how I will cure this patient. How, okay, every time it's not possible, because unfortunately, patients who are coming to Ayurveda, they come in such an advanced stage that, you know, all their vital organs will be involved, vital organ will be deranged, and their performance status will be very poor. So at this stage, whatever best we can do for the patient is to improve their quality of life and reduce the symptoms. So Agni is one of the things. Once Agni is what you call managed properly, once Agni restores back, what we can do is slowly improve the nutrition. Once nutrition improves, person's performance status also improves. Person is able to do his activities of daily living. Now, this is also very important. Making the person do the activities of daily living. How it is important means, because cancer is such a disease which doesn't happen to a person. Cancer is a disease which happens to a family, we generally say. How come? Because there is a lot of uncertainty. Whether the patient is going to survive or die, nobody knows. Patient suffers daily. The entire family suffers because of the financial toxicity associated with the anti-cancer therapies, the frequent admissions to the hospital, frequent admissions to the ICU. Then someone has to stay in the hospital. The caretaker is required. Someone has to leave their job. So the children sometimes has to take, alternatively, one son will be there, another time, next time the daughter will take leaves. And this is how patient actually take care. The caretaker actually take care of their cancer patient. At the end of the day, the cancer patient don't survive. So many times we have to concentrate not only on the patient, but when we are giving a holistic cancer care, we have to see the caretaker also. And believe me, Ayurveda treatment improves the quality of life of the patient, and not only patient, I will say it improves the quality of life for caregivers also, because caregivers generally have comfort when the patient can do his activities of daily living. Okay, the Malamutra Visarjan, which was earlier happening on bed, now if the person is able to go to the washroom and do it by himself or herself, that itself will give a lot of comfort to the caregiver. The number of hospitalization which the patient is requiring, if we are able to bring down that, certainly the caretaker will be able to do their job properly, and their quality of life will improve. And when the patient is bit healthy, symptom free, and staying with the family, the comfort which the family gets is very important. Because see, always we cannot able to cure a cancer patient, or always we will not be able to save the cancer patient or bring him back to a perfect health. But we will be able to give a good quality of life and good quality of death. And certainly this is very much possible with Ayurveda. And this I have seen myself. We have published several articles in that, including we have around 3 publications in Annals of Oncology with 54 impact factor. And any means it is something achievement for that, and a journal like Annals of Oncology has entertained Ayurvedic institution to publish their paper. Because this kind of approach, when we are presenting in front of the world, how a complementary approach can improve the quality of life of caregiver, how a complementary approach can improve quality of life of an end-stage cancer patient, how a complementary therapy or an unconventional approach can make the last few weeks of the patient very comfortable. This actually means a lot in today's oncology, and we can easily do it. Our medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, I am saying, are wonderful. You can actually do it a great service to this kind of people, because generally people comes to us at a very last stage. This is a very sad fact, but yes, this is happening. Now I would like to share you one publication which is published in the New English Journal of Medicine. There they did survey of end-stage cancer patient and asked them that where do they like to die. Majority of the patient told that they want to die at their home, surrounded by the loved ones. This was such an important response. And a few months later, they did a survey of the same patients to find out how many of them were alive and how many of them passed away. And they found out that those majority of them has passed away because already they were in the end stage of the disease. And unfortunately, all those patients who were telling that they want to die at the comfort of their home, surrounded by their loved ones, they died in the ICU, where nobody from their family was available. This is such a bad condition, such a sad scenario it is, that we are not able to fulfill the wish of the patient also. This also Ayurveda is doing wonderful. Believe me, our Rasayan Chikitsa, what we are giving to the patients, even though the patient dies after say months or something, maybe end-stage patient dies after weeks also, but we get testimonials from their caretakers. Patients relative comes and tells to us, patient relative calls to us, they tell that, doctor, we are very thankful to you, because I have seen when my father was admitted in the chemotherapy ward, the other people who were taking chemotherapy with him, we just had a friendship with them, and we found out that they had a very bad death. But our father passed away very peacefully. No problem. Night he slept, morning he was no more. This kind of quality of death also we can offer to the patient. Next is, I would like to share my experiences with all the Vaidyas over here, that what kind of patients do they need to address their needs. The first important is those patients who are having advanced disease. Such patients only come to us because you say you can go through any literature available, you will find that advanced metastatic disease, there is no role of chemotherapy other than palliative intent. chemotherapy, radiotherapy, or any kind of anti-cancer therapy which is given in advanced stage cancer patient has only intent of palliative intent. Okay. And if this kind of chemotherapy is given in end-stage cancer patient, these patients had rather than getting palliation of symptoms, they had an even worse death. This article is published in Journal of American Medical Association, JAMA. Okay. So it is very important to know that when to start and when to stop. What patients are eligible for chemotherapy, what patients are not eligible for chemotherapy. Advanced stage patients, generally when they approach to you, they don't have any other options. They then approach to the Vaidya in a very last stage. At that time, first and most important, it will be try to make their life comfortable. Be patient-centric rather than tumor-centric. Try to make their life comfortable. Try to reduce their symptoms. And then once you have control all over this, patient gets faith over Ayurveda, patient gets faith over you, and then if you feel it is feasible to bring the patient back, okay, then start some curative line of treatment. You may get succeed in that, you may not get succeed in that, in curing the patient or bringing complete remission. Okay, that is a different thing. But I am 100% sure that if proper Ayurvedic treatment is given to the patient, something or other, the patient is going to get benefited. Patient is going to benefit in his symptoms. Patient may get benefited in his quality of life. Patient may get benefited in improving his activities of daily living. Patient may get benefited in quality of death also. And reduction in hospitalization. This is also a very important thing, because patients who are taking Rasayana Chikitsa with us, we have seen that their hospitalization dramatically comes down. The need for hospitalization comes down. Very well, you can manage their symptoms at home. This is a
Excuse me,
very good
sir.
achievement. Yeah, please, ma'am.
Sir, we are running short of time. Could you please summarize quickly?
Yeah, ma'am. Next 5 minutes, is that okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, fine. So this was something I was talking about palliative care, what we can offer to the patient. And certainly their curative therapy are also available, which we can offer to the patient. We have treated many patients who were having no hopes because they were having chemo-resistant tumor. They have taken 3-4 cycles of chemotherapy. They have not responded to that. Such patients are also got benefited and got complete remission. We have published those cases in international journals. Okay. So this is a different experience in itself, that how to face the peer review of international oncologist, conventional oncologist. Many questions they ask. That is a different thing. Maybe this is not the correct forum to discuss about that. But yes, another aspect, the curative aspect, is also possible. So just like to, in a few sentences, I will like to share how exactly do we approach to the patient. That Dr. Rajagopal has given his approach. Wonderful it is, and very scientific as well as classical. It was a amalgamation of both the things. Our approach, I would like to say, we generally use Rasaushadis with the principle of Rasayana. All kind of Rasaushadis which we use are more than 100 putti when we are treating cancer patients. Because we believe that anything below 100 putti will not give the Rasayana effect. It may give the effect. I'm not saying that anything Suvarna Vasma below 100 putti will not give the effect. But if you want Rasayana effect, if you want to correct the cell cycle, we will require a Hirak Basma, which is more than 200-250 putti. So generally, Rasayana approach we target. We look towards correcting the dhatu of the patient. All our Rasayana are targeted towards correcting the derangement in dhatus. Hirak is one of the very important things we generally use, because as I earlier told you, patients who are coming to Ayurveda, they come in very last stage. And you actually, when you want to your medicines to work, you require some time at least. If the patient is coming with 15 days expected lifespan, what your medicine is going to do with that? You need at least 2 months, 3 months, couple of months at least to show some kind of response on the tumor. Okay, in that condition, Hirak is something which saves us. I'm telling which saves us. I'm not telling the doctor, patient, because we want time, and Hirak is something which gives us time. Gives us time to provide proper treatment to the patient, so that, and give the time to the medicine, which actually it will start working. So Hirak Rasayana generally we use Hirak Bhasma at a dose of around 10 to 15 mg OD. And here I would like to emphasize that the puta what we are giving to Hirak Bhasma is very important, because something in less puta, you will get Hirak Bhasma. It's not that you will not get, but we have experience in cancer patient. Less than 200 or 250 puta, we will not get the desired anti-cancer effect. So this is also very important. Lastly, I would like to say that you may come through various publications. Curcumin is showing this effect, then hemp is showing the other effect. Many paper you are getting, phytochemicals are showing this kind of effect. But believe me, this is not Ayurveda. What actually will differentiate you from this kind of approaches is the approach what you are having. We are not treating the using curcumin just for having anti-inflammatory effect. That is not Ayurveda. That is something oncology practice. Nothing wrong with that. But Ayurveda has its own approach. We need to go with that approach. The general approaches which we are using here is, one is the cytotoxic approach. Cytotoxic approach, I will say, we in Ayurveda don't use it. I don't know what about others, they might be using. But if you really want to go for cytotoxic approach, better than herbs, we have many other cytotoxic chemicals available which can show wonderful effect. Another is cytostatic effect. Cytostatic effect, many of our herbs can show, many metals can show, especially there are studies on Suvarna, Hiraka, as well as Rajat Bhasma, which has shown to have cytostatic property, which generally leads to a stable disease, or what we call in oncology as progression-free survival. There is no progression. Okay, a stable disease will be there. And another approach is, in the most important approach with Ayurvedic people can target, is the apoptosis approach. Inducing apoptosis is very important. And here also our medicines, Rasayana Chikitsa, shows wonderful result. Rasayana improves quality of life. And most important, Rasayana also improves survival of the patient. Last, I will give one reference of the article. If anybody is interested, just put in Google, cancer, the most romantic way to die. You will go, you will be redirected to a wonderful blog of BMJ. It is written by ex-editor, chief editor of the British Medical Journal. Here, the author, though being a conventional physician, he has written that cancer is the most romantic way to die because it gives you the time. It's not like other, like a acute myocardial infarction. Today you have some plans. Tomorrow you're going to meet your girlfriend. In morning you're no. It's not like that. It gives you a time. You are able to do what you want to do, what you wanted to do. All such kind of things you are able to do. But most important here is, when you have such time, it is important that you live. The patient live each and every moment of that life. The 6 month survival, if it is there, 6 months he should live. He should be able to do all whatever he wanted to do. He wanted to visit some temple. He wanted to do some dance class. He wanted to play some sports. Whatever he wanted to do, let him do. And yes, Ayurveda Chikitsa, Rasayana Chikitsa can certainly help the patient to fulfill his dream. That's all I would like to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for all your wonderful inputs. We now have our session discussant, Dr. Aditya Shivhare, with us. Dr. Aditya Shivhare is currently engaged as the head of transfusion medicine, Uttar Pradesh University of Medical Sciences. He has done his MD in transfusion medicine, Kasturba Medical College, Manipal University, and postdoctoral fellowship in clinical hematology from CMC Vellore. He served as fellow in clinical hematology and bone marrow transplant at Tata Medical Center, Kolkata. Dr. Aditya Shivhare is highly interested in cooperative approach of medical systems in cancer care. Sir, please, if you could take over. Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, when I was in CMC Vellore, I used to see every patient as my own relative. We were always told not to connect with the emotions of the patients. So there were a lot of loopholes as a hemato-oncologist when we see the patients dying and homes being sold and a lot of other things, people, families coming on road. So we always look for what else can be done, what else can be done. So, and every patient is also a researcher in himself. So whenever they used to say, "Sir, can we take this? Can we take this?" They used to come across some medicines. So I always used to search. I never used to just say them, "It won't help," or I never used to neglect them. So this is how, and then with the help of Vaidya Srijit, I got and Dr. C.P. Najjar got to know about Ayurveda, and after that, when I was in Tata, I used Ayurveda in the form of diet, as is happening currently in West. So even in the form of basic diet, like the herbs. I saw like around 18, 19. It is not a published study. I just did on my personal basis. So I got I made this diet chart and gave it to patients, and those who were in maintenance, all were leukemia patients, most of them. Some 15, 16 patients followed that diet, and actually none of them relapsed during the maintenance. So usually the follow-up was around 1.5 years. Uh, Usually during the maintenance, around 50% of patients relapse at the end of the maintenance, or 1 year or 1.5 years down the maintenance. So definitely it had a role. And as Dr. Avinash Kadam told, yes, the Saptalohas are very, very potent. There were some instances when a post bone marrow transplant relapse patient, and also the patients with leukemia, with COVID cachexia, given Rasaushadis, yes, they responded very well. I have experienced in hemato-oncology case. So yes, integration is the key, and more important is uh, see this BMS course of small BMS course that the government has given to somehow make a system to protect our traditional system, but it is law. It requires a lot of effort and taxing. It is not sufficient actually. So the way Rasa Shastra has to be taken. In fact, there was a Vaidya from Maharashtra. I am not remembering his name. He used to give 1200 putas for medicines. He used to cure with 6 to 7 medicines all the diseases. So he did not tell the formula even to his child, and he expired somehow. So yes, Agni has a tremendous role, and the way metals are purified, and they carry the memory of the Agni to which they are exposed. It has to be explored. It has a huge, huge phenomenon. Okay, so Dr. Sandhya, you can take from here.
Thank you, sir, for all your inputs. Now, for the concluding remarks, I would like to invite Dr. Sujata, Professor in Sociology, Center for the Study of Social Systems, JNU Delhi. Ma'am, could you please take over?
Yes, thank you so much, Sandhya, and I thank Skandesh for putting together such a nice program, experience sharing session today. We had 3 highly experienced experts, Dr. Rajagopal, Dr. Avinash Kadam, and Dr. Aditya Shivhare share their experiences. I'm a sociologist. You might be wondering why I am here in this session of doctors. I'm a sociologist of medicine, and I've been working on traditional medicine for some time. And though I understand that the technical details of the treatment and approach will be shared by a large number of Ayurvedic and other physicians here, as a sociologist observing this discussion, certain things were very striking to me. While the experience sharing on treatment of Arbuda or cancer by 2 specialists, there were different approaches to the same condition, different approaches and therapeutic logic that was discussed by Dr. Rajagopal and Dr. Kadam. And secondly, I noticed that, which I have noticed steadily in my fieldwork with Ayurvedic and Siddha physicians, that the current Ayurvedic and Siddha physicians and Unani physicians It's not enough if they clinically treat the patients. What they tend to do is also they have to have an eye on the quality of the drugs. So when Dr. Rajagopal mentioned that he doesn't use Asavari, that particular alcoholic combination, because the quality of gooseberry used there he cannot trust that. I was so struck that Ayurvedic physicians, even when they use prepared classical preparations, they have to have an eye, they have to think about how that particular medicine is prepared in the industry, whether and they have to have that kind of background information. Second, in addition to this, Ayurvedic physicians also have to keep tag on the biomedical parameters, markers, publications coming out, and also with the Ayurvedic knowledge emerging from the text. So this is more than any standard biomedical clinician will have to do. So in that sense, you are able to talk and straddle between two systems of knowledge. I also noticed, apart from the quality of drugs, Dr. Kadam mentioned the caregiver's situation, which generally let's say a technical presentation on oncology may not actually think of including. So as a social science person, I was quite struck by these factors of the quality of death, even that the fact that you can have a good quality of death, which a lot is being written about in philosophy and sociology of death, I could see those things here. And above all, let's also be practical. The forbidding cost of oncological treatments and the drastic reduced cost of Ayurveda deserves special mention here, and which drastically improves the adaptation and coping strategies of families. Families in India, medical treatment constitutes the largest burden of death. Even farmers' suicide, they said farmers died not because of crop failure, but because they had health issues in the family. And a large number of them died because they could not pay for their repay the debts caused by huge medical treatments like kidney dialysis, etc., and so on. So the cost element is indeed very significant. And so we had this picture of all these social economic elements being foregrounded in these various presentations along with technical factors. And we got a lot of input from Dr. Rajagopal on the physiology and the mechanism of diet and the food and so on. I think a lot of participants here will have several questions and would like to engage with the experts a little more. So do us. We are here. Some sociology people and public health people are also here. So maybe in consultation with Dr. Skandesh, we thought that we could have another session with the same experts at a time suitable to them, so that we can continue the discussion, because we have a number of other Ayurvedic physicians here, other doctors here who might also want to engage, and we can have an enriched extended session. This will soon be announced, but for now I should say it was a brilliant session. I only want to end with one question for all the Ayurvedic physicians. It's a query that should this be called Ayurvedic oncology, because terms like Ayur genomics, Ayur biology, Ayur oncology are some kind of hybrid terms. Can it not be called the treatment for Vibhaga or for Arputa treatment? I mean, this just out of curiosity. Maybe at a later date and in the extended session, I'll be very happy to listen to your point of view. So thank you everyone for being here, and thanks to the experts, the discussant and the chair for enlightening us. We'll keep in touch.
So I think one of the requests that we are getting from any participant is to actually regarding sharing the communication details of Dr. Rajagopal. So Dr. Rajagopal, is it okay that? Hello?
Yeah, sure. No problem, Skandesh. Please share my contacts with them. No problem.
Okay, thank you. So if you can actually share, that would be great. Maybe in the chat box.
Oh, okay, please.
And Yeah, and as Professor Sujata was concluding, maybe we can think about a specific session on case reports and some kind of clinical kind of presentation. Maybe that will be more important and interesting. So I think if when times permit all of you, we can actually have some more brainstorming session if possible, I think.
Yeah, sure. We can do when when both of us find a time, we can do, no problem.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. So I
I'm
thank
sharing
everyone.
my number here, 70-129-74155 and the chat box.
Okay, thank you. So finally, again, I'm thanking everyone on the behalf of Forum for Medical Pluralism. And thank you, all of you. You made this session more meaningful because of your, with this extended time also, I could see at least 50 people. So that shows that the session had a huge impact. So thank you. And we can gather for the next session very soon. Thank you all.
Yes, this is one of our best attended sessions, I should say. We had 67 people at one point. Thank you so much.